Hiring a sales rep is one of the most expensive, time-consuming, riskiest ventures you could ever make as an owner. But I'm here to tell you it can pay off if you do it right and if you have a plan. Before I go into what you need to do that, I want to tell you a story about a friend of mine who owns a solar panel installation service here in San Diego. He's doing really well, his phone's ringing, he's not doing much in sales, a lot of referrals, but he feels like he can take it to the next level, and all he needs is a salesperson to do that. So he and I were discussing what that would entail, and he had already kind of launched a plan. He had found a commission rep, which he thought was fantastic because it was 100% commission, so no risk on his point. And I asked him, well, how's it working? And he said, well, I'm working probably instead of the 15 hours a day I used to work, I'm now working 18 hours. And I said, why is that? He goes, well, even though he's all commission, I still have to train him. I have to go over all of his bids. I have to know how well he's doing. He needs some help. He needs some resources. It's just a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. So here's an owner, just like you, right, who didn't have a lot of money to spare. He did it on all commission for a reason, but it really was kind of backfiring. The rep is no longer with him. The whole thing was kind of a disaster, right? So what I'm here to tell you is it's okay to take the chance, but you have to be prepared. And you have to avoid a bunch of trap doors that I'm going to go through in the rest of this unit. The first trap door that I'm going to go to is I kind of call it a trophy hire. I'll run into business owners all the time, and they'll tell me I'm not big enough to hire a salesperson, or they'll usually tell me I wish I was big enough to hire a salesperson. It's as if it's some sort of crowning achievement, like a graduation from small business to big business, right? They know that big businesses have salespeople. And they really want to get to that point. And just doing it for their ego is typically a disaster. I've kind of made a study of this over the last decade or so. The small business people that I know that have done this for a trophy hire have significantly lost out compared to those people that just kind of took a little chance here, they dabbled, they maybe gave a promotion to somebody. The ones that made a big grandiose hire, they went out and got the competitor's big hitter or whatever. It has been an absolute disaster. The second one I want to talk about is if you hire without a plan, right? So just because you want to grow, that's not enough, right? You need to have a plan. You need to know where you're going to get this person, what they're going to do. Significantly important thing is how you're going to hire them, right? What are they going to do on the first day? I have hours of this invested in preparation for the onboarding. That's a huge part of this. So if you don't hire if you don't have a plan, you're preparing for a disaster. The third one is hiring out of personal or business desperation. Your business is struggling, you're failing, you can't pay the bills, and you know that the top line growth is going to be what's going to save you. Well, if that's the desperation model that you're in right now, that's a really dangerous spot, right? You're not going to hire the best candidate because probably they're going to sense it, right? They're sort of like a dog that can smell fear. If you're desperate, they don't want to work there. The best people aren't going to come there. Just as a side note, what I'd suggest if you're in that position is you probably want to look for some sort of sweat equity partnership. Bring on a business owner mentality by bringing in an experienced salesperson that knows how to get the job done, but you don't have to train, right? So you might have to give up part of your company or whatever, but if you're in a desperation mode, this is a way to do it. By far, the biggest challenge that I've run into, and I've done it myself, and there's a piece of this that's really kind of sneaky, is if you hire the next you, right? Who doesn't like themselves, right? We see each other in the mirror, we're so proud, we can't wait to make the next us, right? All of our wisdom imparted to some needy, worthy chap or gal that's ready to go take on the world. Who doesn't want to hire the next you, right? But you're projecting all of the things that you find to be important. You're hoping that they recognize that and that they take on your role in the community and your role in the company. That's a lot to ask for somebody that maybe you're hiring for $30,000 fresh out of college. They're not the next you. They're them and you're you, right? You've had a bunch of success because you own the company, you make the call, you make the decision, and you're hoping that you can maybe clone yourself, but I'm here to tell you that's a huge trap door. And one of the biggest sort of culprits in this little scam is headhunters. Headhunters are experts at sending you the next you. I've worked with probably 25 different headhunters, and the best ones always want to come out and meet you, see your environment, see what you have on your desk. They prepare those candidates so well for you to recognize yourself in them that you can't help but hire them, right? It's one of the biggest trapdoors in all of the salesperson hiring is this projection of the next you. I'm from the city of Detroit. If there's anybody that understands what a can't-miss star is all about, it's a Detroit Lions fan. And hiring a can't-miss star to be your next salesperson is a disaster, right? A can't-miss star doesn't exist. You have to make a star. You have to find somebody with the right ingredients, hard work, determination, a little bit of desperation maybe in them, of themselves, and then you provide the training and the experience and the know-how and the products and the services. You turn them into a star. So if you think you're sitting across the desk from somebody who's a can't-miss star, you're probably drafting like the Detroit Lions and out of massive desperation, hoping that 50 years of hopelessness is going to be turned around as they do every summer in the top few picks of the year. So that's my 5 mistakes. Now I have 3 sort of green light go conditions that have to be in place as well. So let's move past the mistake part and go to being positive about what we can achieve. The very first green light condition is you have to be prepared. It's the flip side, the other side of the coin of the second one of the mistakes, which is not being prepared. If you're fully prepared, if you've thought it all out, if you have a business plan, you know what market they're going to go after, you know where the customers are going to come from, you know why you're not getting them now, perhaps you don't have the time or you're not servicing the market. You got everything lined up, you're ready to go, that's a green light condition and you go get them. That is the perfect opportunity for you to sign up a new sales rep. So after knowing exactly what you're going to do with them, you have to know how you're going to train them. And that's part of the plan, but it's a separate issue. First, you have to know you can use one, then you got to figure out how to train them. And the training part is a whole effort in and of itself. It's a team operation between you, your staff, even stuff that you'll have to learn that you haven't learned before, like taking this course. If you've never had a salesperson, you have to figure out how to be a sales manager, and that starts now. So you have to know what you're going to do with them before you bring them on. My third green light condition is probably best told within this story. I worked within an organization, it was a very, very robust organization, international sales, had all sorts of stuff going for it. But the owner literally controlled the entire company by himself. He knew the production schedule in the factory. He knew the raw materials costs. He knew the shipping costs. He knew everything. So when he went out to make a sales call, he could make any deal he wanted work because he could control all of the factors that went into it. Now, my third green light condition is, was that organization ready to bring on a salesperson? Was the organization, not him, he might have been ready, but was the organization, did they have a process in place that allowed any new sales rep to operate the way that he was selling? The answer was absolutely not, right? The very first thing that new rep did was come in and say, how do I do this? How do I do that? What's the process for this? What's the process for that? And we didn't have any good answers. The owner sort of made up the rules as he went along, and there was no way in the world we were going to get that person trained to that level and trusted to the point that they would be able to make those calls. Everybody pushed back. That organization just was not ready to continue selling the way that we had been selling. So if your organization is not ready, no matter how well the plan is, no matter how well you could structure a deal or a comp plan, you're not going to be able to execute the way that you are with your current structure. So I've gone over the 5 trap doors, the 3 green light conditions, and if those things apply to you, you're ready to go. That's all you need. If you're missing any parts, work on those parts. A few of these are a little bit trickier. The whole ego thing with hiring a trophy, you're going to have to look inside yourself and see if that's really happening. Because if it is, you're going to have to take a whole nother look at the operation, potentially a whole bunch of different things. But if you're ready, do it.